We're here today to talk about the 2016 strategic plan, and I'm here with Mike Butler, our President of Operations and Services, and we'd like to give you the 5-minute tour of the strategic plan for next year. One of the first things that you'll see is it looks pretty similar to what we've been doing in the past. What I'd like to point out a few of the things that are a little bit different. One, if you look down the values and the mission never change. We talk about this all the time. That's always the same for us. But what we have added is a different vision. And we've done a lot of work with everything, and the thing that's resonated is simplify health for everyone. And as we've talked to people that use our services, we've talked to our own people, simplification is something that people have really responded to. And as a lot of you know, our founding sisters have simplification, simplify, as part of one of their basic tenets. The other thing that we said is that we have a promise, and that remains the same, and a lot of it's very familiar to all of you, to know me, care for me, and ease my way. And we think that as a promise is really important to us as we serve everyone that we serve at Providence. The last thing on the bottom is something that we've talked about over the last 2 years, which is the outcome of what we're hoping to create, which is creating healthier communities together. So I think this fits together nicely. We've done some tweaks on it, but we've also done some things in the pillars, Mike, right, to add some meat and some detail to each one of those, and maybe you could just kind of run through those with us.
Yeah, I know in the spirit of simplifying health for everyone, we're keeping this simple as we go forward, and as Rod said, very consistent with what we've done in the past. So we continue to have our 5 pillars. We lead with our core pillar of inspire and develop our people, with really a lot of the focus continuing on being the employer of choice, as well as assuring that our caregiver wellness and our caregiver work experience continues to improve. This year we're actually measuring with a new metric, and that is first-year turnover. We think it's an imperative that we recruit, retain, and develop all of our caregivers and really focus on this. Today, as an example, over 28% of our caregivers leave within the first year,
wow,
which can cause issues around quality, issues around cost, and so a real major focus there.
And that's going to be that is going to be the success measure.
That is the success measure for that particular pillar. The second area is building enduring relationships with consumers. The work that we'll do there is to continue to be focused on different patient journeys. You've all heard about Lilly throughout the year, and how do we actually bring that to life across our organization. And then also to continue to optimize the value of the family of brands that we have.
Because Lilly is looking at this completely from the perspective of the patient. Exactly. And what their journey is going through. And fictional name is Lilly, but
exactly.
it kind of brings us to that.
It's truly that N of one. It's how do we create predictability for Lilly around access, around experience, around quality, around outcomes, around cost. And how do we bring that to life in our organization to serve more people better? How we're going to measure it, again, very simple. We're going to measure patient experience, not at an index anymore. We've simplified it, really focused on the inpatient area, the ambulatory, and the emergency room. The third pillar is create alignment with our clinicians and caregivers. Again, continuing the work around high reliability. It's an absolute imperative that we become high reliability organization going forward. And number 2, the full launch of all of our clinical institutes. We've done a lot of great work up to date, but this is really the year of action when it comes to those institutes. And again, in the spirit of simplicity, we're going to be looking at clinical excellence and simple measures around inpatient, ambulatory, and care coordination. So the famous index we had in the past that was pretty challenging is gone, and now we have these areas of really solid focus.
So people can actually see these are lives saved, these are things that we do that we can really see and touch, kind of stuff that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. What we try to do is align it so that the caregiver or the core leader that is engaged has complete line of sight and isn't worried about there being one part of an index, but it's their work and how we measure the value of their work going forward.
And the other thing that is a little bit different about what we've done at Providence, a lot of other organizations call out physicians specifically in their strategic plan. And we felt it was pretty important to talk about all clinicians.
Exactly. Because everybody who engages with the patient and consumer makes a difference, absolutely. The fourth pillar continues to be develop and thrive under new care delivery models and economic models. Not a lot changed here other than really moving forward with execution of our overall population health strategies, putting a lot of time and effort into the informatics that can really give people great real-time information to be able to move forward, change that area. The success measure is going to continue to be net free cash flow. That's really important as it relates to meeting our debt obligations, meeting our capital needs, and continuing to invest in the future.
Because one of the things we've talked about, Mike, there's this whole obsession, I would almost say, with the move from fee-for-service to value. And you and I have been quoted a lot that that's important, but what really is important, that we bring more people to Providence?
Exactly. The more people we serve, the easier it's going to be. And it also allows us to really, in the marketplace, be the ones that can dictate when the payment models should change. And so I think it allows us to be very wise in those decision points.
Because in that whole area, as you've talked about for this year, we've had some extraordinary increases in volumes in a whole bunch of different areas.
Yeah, it's been remarkable. If you look at the 9 key metrics that we look at around growth in terms of patient volumes, we've seen anywhere from a low of 5% to as high as 19% growth.
Wow.
With strong growth, particularly in surgery and within our medical groups. And it's interesting, as I'm out and about across the country meeting with other folks that have jobs similar to mine, I think we're pretty unprecedented in terms of the growth that we're seeing. I think it really reflects not only the affiliations we've done in the past, but just how we're working as an organization across our clinical institutes, our medical groups, all the things that we do in our communities.
Because most other places, when we go out and talk to folks around the country, most other places are seeing decline in surgery, decline in admissions, and we haven't seen that.
We have not, and if you look at all the statistics, I think one of the stats you quoted earlier in the year was if you look at well-managed healthcare in terms of patient days per 1,000, I think 4 of our 5 states are in the lowest in the country. I mean, we have low hospital use rates as it is today,
right.
And yet we're still seeing that growth because we're really touching more people and bringing them into our system.
Super.
And then finally, the last area the last pillar is to grow by optimizing our expert capabilities. Not a lot has changed here. We will just continue to focus on where there's opportunity to serve deeper into our communities as well into new communities. As you and I have always talked, Rod, it's all about alignment around mission, vision, values. And as long as we find partners that are willing to participate in that with us and have consistency in that, we'll continue to move forward. We're going to measure this next year, continue it under community benefit. We're going to use a little simpler methodology in terms of actual community benefit spend versus the tax ratio we used last year.
So this will be easier to understand too. The other question I think everyone has out there, as we're moving ahead with the partnership with St. Joseph Health, how will it affect this plan for next year?
Yeah, the plan right now is that we'll continue with our 2 separate strategic plans, but we're pulling together, I think it's 35 design teams to help build an integration plan. And the thing that we're going to be looking for is for each of those teams to take a combination of our 5 pillars and the 8 areas that the St. Joseph Orange Health System looks at in a common way, so that when we're doing work together, we're designing something that's going to bring value, whether it be to a consumer, whether it be to growth, whether it be to our people plan together. But we're really blending kind of the themes and words versus blending the plans themselves.
Gotcha. Because I think with all strategic plans, I mean, these things are only as good as our execution and our willingness to kind of realize that these are documents, probably other than our mission and values, that are constantly changing.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thanks for being with us today, and we hope this cleared up a little bit, so thanks for being with us.
And thank you for all the great work you're doing across our organization.